need help. Stand by me here. Well, as Tom mentioned, when the Legal Aid Society in Tulsa learned that law students at the University of Tulsa would no longer be able to operate a legal clinic that had served the children and the elderly poor, Williams' legal department was asked if we could help to fill the gap. It had been just a few months before, during our 2006 United Way campaign at Williams, that I had a department staff meeting at Legal Aid, which we do as a part of our United Way campaign at different agencies. And my staff was moved by the dedication of the agency's small and overworked staff. We wanted to help in some way, but we were not sure that we had the relevant expertise. In fact, most of us were sure that we didn't. Our employer, the Williams Company, fortunately for us, has a long tradition of giving back to the community, and many members in our legal department were very active already as community volunteers. But we had not done a lot of pro bono legal work, and we had definitely never taken on anything of this magnitude. With 28 in-house lawyers in Tulsa, we have about 40 throughout the country, but 28 in our Tulsa headquarters, we weren't sure we would be able to provide the necessary bench strength to handle a clinic like this. And really, more importantly, we weren't sure that we knew enough about the law outside the commercial arena to handle a clinic. As you know, the big issue with corporate in-house legal departments is not a lack of desire to perform pro bono work, and certainly that was not the case at Williams. It's having the experience outside of our world to help with things like neighbor disputes, divorces, civil litigation, and in this case, helping elderly poor with end-of-life planning and representing the interests of children as guardian ad litem. We were thrilled when Tulsa's largest law firm, Estill, joined our effort. They provided a greater depth of experience and more volunteer horsepower. Jointly, we began to recruit attorneys and paralegals to help. Legal Aid was delighted that in one fell swoop, they added 42 volunteer lawyers to their team, more new volunteer lawyers than they typically get in a year. However, we had some work to do before we felt that we would be competent to adequately represent our new clients-to-be. To help us understand elder law issues, we recruited probate judges and a local attorney to train us in this new area of law. We also created videotapes to be used for later training of new volunteers. We were often running, and really, in order to prove to my group that they were capable of handling matters like this, I took the first case. And fortunately for me, it was a simple will of an elderly woman named Luella Clugston. And the point that I made to them was that if I could do this, someone whose last experience with wills was when he decided to drop trusts and estates in law school because the final was on St. Patrick's Day. If I could handle it, they could certainly handle it. And the matters that we have handled have ranged from wills, simple wills. Our clients don't have need for complicated things like pour-over trusts, medical directives, and one area that we've really had a lot of cases, a lot of matters, is acting as guardian ad litem for minors in very difficult and emotionally charged proceedings. And I would like to give you an example of one matter that was actually handled by a paralegal and a lobbyist in our government affairs group. Ann and Debbie, those are their actual names, and they're here tonight, were asked to act as guardian ad litem for 3 young children, 6-year-old twins and a 3-year-old, whose father had petitioned a Tulsa court to have a temporary guardianship order revoked. His wife had recently died, and the father wanted full custody of his children because he felt that it was his wife's drug problems that had been the primary cause of his wife's parents, his in-laws, being granted temporary guardianship several years earlier. The 3 children all received monthly Social Security benefits, and it was the father's contention that the grandparents did not want to give up custody because they relied on those benefits, which were almost $2,500 per month. The grandparents' opinion was that the father was not capable of taking care of the children, one of whom had developmental disabilities. Ann and Debbie conducted 10 interviews over a several-month period, in addition to meeting with the father and the grandparents several times. They spoke with the father's employer, the children's teachers and friends, and other family members, as well as a family counselor. Although they uncovered many things that made it clear that neither the father nor the grandparents were perfect care providers, who among us is, they ultimately concluded that both the grandparents and the father loved the children very much, and they uncovered no evidence of neglect on either side. In the end, Ann and Debbie recommended that it was in the children's best interest for the father to have custody. He had full-time employment, and his employer spoke highly of him. And they felt he would provide the children with a loving and stable home environment. However, they also advised the court that the grandparents should continue to be involved in the children's lives for continuity, especially in light of the recent death of their mother. As a result of Ann and Debbie's hard work, they helped the father and the grandparents see that it was in the child's best interest if they could resolve their differences and focus on the children. Now, I tell this story for two reasons. First of all, although this is a partnership with legal aid and primarily involves members of the Williams Legal Department, Ann and Debbie are not lawyers. But they have one very important qualification to handle a matter like this. They're both mothers. And secondly, I wanted to give you a sense of how important it is to handle matters like this and represent children in court proceedings, the interests of children in court proceedings that can be so overwhelming and complicated. In receiving this award, we are following in the footsteps of some large and impressive in-house legal departments, but I'm here to testify that even small to medium-sized departments, do not tell my boss I said that, because I tell him it's a large department, very difficult to oversee. But relatively speaking, that even smaller departments can make a pro bono difference in your community. And I salute our partners who share this award, the Hall Estill Law Firm and Legal Aid Services of Oklahoma. It is a true partnership in every sense of the word, and you're probably wondering why I have some help up here, but I was concerned about falling down as I delivered this presentation. But with me, on your right, my left, is Lane Wilson. He's a litigation partner at Hall Estill, and he's really led the effort at that firm in terms of our partnership. And Sonny Langdon was a lawyer and the pro bono coordinator at Legal Aid Services Oklahoma in Tulsa, and she was the one telling us all along that we actually could do this, even though many of us had our doubts. But and before I close with a couple of remarks, I would also like to introduce to the group Craig Rainey of my department. You didn't have to come up here and talk, but you do have to stand. Craig is an assistant general counsel in the Williams Legal Department, and he really took the ball on this and ran with it. If it weren't for Craig, we would have not gotten to the point that we're at, and I am truly humbled and honored to have Craig work for me. And in addition, if we're up to me, I didn't know he was even putting an application. You may have told me, but I didn't know he was putting an application in for this kind of award. But we are so honored. And finally, thanks to the Pro Bono Institute and all of you for this recognition, and most importantly, for all you do to provide legal services to those less fortunate in your communities. And before I say thank you once more, I would like the group from Williams and Hall Estill and Scott Hamilton from Legal Aid just to stand so everyone can see. We've got a table full here, and these are the people that make it happen. So thank you very much.